Hey, everybody, what's going on? John here, Johnny Investor Howard. I hope you're having a great weekend. Today, at the time of this recording, it's Saturday, December, what is it, December 12th? Today's video, another video on investing. We had a very interesting event this past week, which was Airbnb going public on Thursday of this week. So a couple of unique facts I want to say real quick about Airbnb that I believe are captivating about it as a company. The unique facts are: they are in more than 220 countries. Their hosts have welcomed 820 million plus guests. They cumulatively have earned over $110 billion. And they have 4 million hosts now, which is, they've got a lot more hosts to go, I think, especially given the fact that they're in 220 countries. So those are some really, really compelling, very, very fascinating, I think, fascinating and unique facts about Airbnb. So I got a couple clips today. I'm going to tear into their financials for you, as always, okay? And then also I got a clip with Jim Cramer, you could have guessed it, where Jim Cramer talks about, Jim Cramer's got his own experience with IPO. He was, I think one of the founders of the street, and basically brought that public back in 1999 and had a crazy experience with it. So he's got a lot of insight about IPOs. And then also, I follow a guy on CNBC, Downtown Josh Brown. He's got his own podcast, and he talks about the December IPO lineup and kind of goes through with another person that he's interviewing or really just doing the podcast with of what their picks are. And the other guy picks Airbnb, and Josh Brown does not pick Airbnb. I actually really like Airbnb. I've got a lot of contextual experience with it. Just to give you a quick update on that, I do vacation rentals here in Southern California. I've used Airbnb for a while. I don't really know when. I think I started on Airbnb probably about 2012, so maybe 8 years ago. I don't do Airbnb as much as the other VRBO. I wish I could give an answer why, but it is what it is. I just don't seem to get as much activity from them, but I certainly have them in the mix and love to do Airbnb when I can. So basically, okay, so let's go ahead and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hop into what I think is a little bit more compelling, which is the interview with the podcast with Josh Brown, and then we'll go from there. Okay.
The December IPO slate, because it's big. There's like 5 very well-known, very popular companies coming out, and I wanted to see which of these, gun to your head, you have to buy one of them on the IPO. Which of these you would buy? It's Airbnb, it's Affirm, which I think you've written about, Roblox, Wish, or Doordash. Got to pick one.
Not only do I pick Airbnb, I'm actually probably going to buy it at the IPO.
No!
He has a Substack called The Diff.
Real quick, everybody. I have not taken a position in Airbnb. I plan on doing it. I didn't on Thursday. But I'm, right at this point, I'm kind of waiting to see if there's any kind of, red days coming up. But I am looking to start taking little positions as time goes on. Very excited and interested in Airbnb.
A great write-up on Airbnb. If you're, he synthesized the S1, so that was awesome. Airbnb, maybe that's a Freudian slip. Airbnb is in more than 220 countries. Their hosts have welcomed over 825 million guests arrivals and have cumulatively earned over $110 billion. That is so much money that was not going into people's pockets. There's 4 million hosts now. I think that this is going to be one of the biggest companies in the world.
You really do? All right.
One of the biggest companies in the world. Well, I don't know. That's a pretty big statement. Right now we have pretty much, Amazon and Apple up there at the top, and then probably Microsoft is, pretty close, depending on how you look at it, market cap or revenues. But, that's a big statement. But they do have a lot. They do have a lot of room to grow in terms of penetration with getting more hosts. But I really like the way that he's thinking there.
The near term, it's a wild ride. By the way, I have so much respect for Brian Chesky. I saw him speak at Andrew Sorkin's thing last year. He's like the real thing. So I think they'll be successful, but they're getting
the real thing.
I think a $35 billion valuation out of the gates. Revenue is down 32% this year, and that's encompassing the rebound in Q3. Like they are way off still.
Yeah, the Q3 was 28% decline. That's not that bad considering what just happened.
Well, no, I'm saying they started to see a bounce.
Q2 was a disaster, 67% below.
Yeah, this is a company that was worth $36 billion pre-pandemic, and then they had to do a down round at $18 billion.
Yep.
And then they did an emergency debt offering. The debt will still be with them. And now they're going to go public again at $35 billion. It's a really wild ride. I have a prop.
But wait a minute. Okay, let's hit the prop.
I got to get the prop first.
So let's
that's Brian Chess. That's Brian.
That's pretty funny. I mean, I don't know, it's not really that funny, but it's kind of funny. So that's just really a cereal box with Brian Chesky on it. So apparently back in 2008, he had run up $30,000 on his credit card to help Airbnb because they needed money. And he sold Barack Obama and John McCain cereal boxes to raise $30,000 to pay his credit cards off. So we're going to go ahead and hop over to Jim Cramer, what he says about it, and then we're going to kind of tear into some financials for you, okay?
Exploding right now. Airbnb is going to have a real ugly fourth quarter, and that weakness could very well extend into the first quarter of next year. But think about this. By the time April rolls around, millions of people should be vaccinated. Remember, I'm calling it the vaccine glut. And I have to believe we'll see recovery in the travel stocks in a rapid fashion. Plus, once we get to March, Airbnb is going to be up against some incredibly easy comparisons. They sets the company up for some monster year-over-year growth. In other words, this business will look great in 2021, especially when you layer in all the cost cuts they put through. On top of that, Airbnb's a last man standing situation. Sadly, a bunch of smaller bed and breakfasts are going under, which means less.
I don't agree with that statement at all. Just so you know, obviously they're a great service. There's a lot of people that really, really love Airbnb. I have not, in terms of my places in Southern California, I have not been able to kind of really get into that Airbnb system and become like a super host yet. For whatever reason, I just have more equity in my places on VRBO. If you actually take a look, I'm going to tear into the financials, of Expedia as well, because Expedia purchased VRBO back in 2015, I believe, and I'll take a look at the two of them. I don't think the two of them are really on a same level comparison, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that Airbnb is last man standing. I would say that hands down, far and away, without a doubt, Airbnb has the most traffic of any hospitality site, like any sort of staying overnight somewhere site that's out there, and that is something that I would agree with. But in no way is it a last man standing kind of a scenario, is my opinion.
Competition. But the next few months could be pretty rough, especially if IPO investors freak out when they see Airbnb's first quarter out the gate. They shouldn't. They should know that. They should be listening. Meanwhile, they've got some real competition. There's Vrbo, Expedia's vacation rental subsidiary, and there are at least a half dozen smaller players in the same space. Still, I think Airbnb, I'm telling you, I think I'd buy it. Yes. Right price, but I would buy it. The stock's expected to come public between 56 and 60. Got to figure it'll be at closer to the higher end of the range or even above it. At the high end, this company would have a $42 billion market cap.
Just so you know, everybody, so it went public Thursday in a big way, and it's way over $60 a share. Even yesterday, it closed down about 1.18% at about 137. So I guess that's actually in the after hours trading. So right now it's about a 137 price, which pegs its market cap at about 83 billion. So it's probably way too expensive for Jim and his charitable trust and what they buy, because they have a cap where they can only do invest in things that are 10 times sales. So I think that puts them over that valuation of 83 billion puts them over that. But we'll go see what else he has to say on it.
Not down with 17 where it was, but listen, this is a big company, and it's a good one. At 60, Airbnb will be trading at a little less than 10 times next year's sales, at least according to estimates from an outfit called Atlantic Equities. If the stock gets up to 80, that's more than 13 times sales. That's too expensive for me. That's more than twice as expensive as something like Lyft or Uber. So where do I come down? The bottom line is that I want you to own Airbnb because it's set to have a terrific year starting next March. That means you've got a few months to make the move. No rush. If you can get the stock for $68 or less this week, I back up the truck. If you can get it for less than 85, I'm granting you a small position. Any higher, though, and I'm going to have to say you got to keep your bat on your shoulder and wait for a better pitch.
So pretty interesting. But again, even Jim there, I mean, he's really focusing on revenue. I think what that they're missing is, again, it comes back to gross profits. And I think what's really fascinating to me is that what's great about Airbnb is very, very, very high gross profits. Let's see, it is a little bit hard to find Airbnb financials because obviously they just went public. So, they're going to not really have that much financial information. But if you take a look at it, I found some private company information in terms of their in terms of the Airbnb financials. And I'm going to take a look at 2019 because, as you may imagine, I mean, I think it's pretty fair to fair to understand that the 2020 pandemic here has really affected hospitality and Airbnb. So let's take a look at 2019, and if you take a look at that, they've got revenue of 4.8 billion. And then they've got annual gross profit of 3.6 billion. So that's, and if you go up a little bit higher, you take a look at Q3 2020, and basically Airbnb gross profit margin 83%. That is great. Those are the kind of margins where you want to be an investor. I mean, that's just artwork to me, seeing that sort of a high gross profit level. And if you take a look at the gross profit in Q3 1.1. So, if they are, let's just go ahead and use the 2019 gross profit, which is 3.6, because they're not going to be. It's highly unlikely that for 2020 they're going to be over 4 billion gross profit. But if you take a look at it, they're I'll take a look at it real quick. So basically, even at the closing price on Friday, and again, at the time of this recording, it's Saturday, December 12th, after Airbnb went public, 83 billion market cap. If you take that annual gross profits, right, and you divide, it's like 20 something, right? 83 divided by 3.6. 23. So if you take that annual gross profit of 3.6 billion and you divide it into their market cap of 83, it's about 23. So that's actually not that bad. I mean, think about it like this. I mean, Zoom trading at almost 300, right? So 300 times their gross profit into their market cap is 300. This is like over 10 times cheaper than Zoom from a relative valuation perspective, the way that I look at things. And shoot, that's even cheaper than Roku, which is what I'm really looking at. So I think it's actually not too bad, and especially with the 83% gross profit margin, that's really high. It's hard to know what their year-over-year growth rate is going to be. I did take a look at that real quick before doing this video, and it looks to me like it's not as great as I would have thought. Actually, fiscal year 2017, 71% year-over-year growth. That's awesome, of course. Then in fiscal year 2018, 43%. Then fiscal year 2019, 32%. And then I think 2020, they're going to probably see some slower growth because obviously what happened with the pandemic. But if they could get that growth up, to that 40% or higher, might be a little bit, become a little bit more appealing. But basically, any way you cut it, you look at it, I'd say I'm actually interested in buying Airbnb. I would love to kind of pick it up on some red days. There, might be some tax loss harvesting, which is going to go on between now and the last day of the year. So I'm definitely going to be kind of keeping my eye out for Airbnb. But you got to figure, if you're really trying to kind of get that strategy in there and, 5 or 10x your money already at 80 billion, I mean, what is it going to take to kind of 10x your investment, right? When is Airbnb going to be at 800 billion like Facebook? I mean, Facebook, you figure, went public in 2012, which at this point is 8 years ago. 8 years ago. So, maybe 5 to 10 years, it might be, at that level. So I think, a really good investment, but, maybe not going to be a super fast performer like some of the other kind of higher growth ones. Let me know what you think if you have any, kind of opinion. But I will say that, again, I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying that Expedia is a better investment in any way, shape, or form, but at the same time, I mean, they bought VRBO and HomeAway, which they do have a lot of traffic, and they are an extremely formidable competitor to Airbnb. And Expedia is at 17 billion. And that's at this point more than 4 times less than Airbnb. Definitely would be very interested to see how the two of them do stacked against each other over the next year, because Expedia is already a publicly traded company, and they acquired VRBO back in 2015, according to my research. So. I hope you all like that. That's Airbnb. Let me know about your thoughts. I will be looking to take some positions in Airbnb, see how they do between now and certainly the first of 2021. Okay, if you aren't already, everybody, you can generate leads, generate profits, or just generate income from your social media profiles. My program is called Profile Profit Machine, okay? You can partner with me and partner with the world record holder for the fastest website funnel to hit $1 million, and that record is 28 days. You can come in and get my blueprint, or you can just go ahead and clone my funnel. Just clone it and make it your own. Also, I came out with a blueprint, a wealth and instant credit blueprint. I got 5 guaranteed credit cards in there. That link is going to be in there as well. And then lastly, you can go ahead and check out my link on M1 Finance. I got an investor pie there. You can invest in my investor pie or any other expert pie on there. Okay. Thank you so much and have a great weekend.